you don't know if you've seen Beauty and the Beast.
I mean, I have. I just don't remember anything about it. I know. It's not great.
What was the moral?
Well, I know now.
Welcome back, everybody. There is a lot to discuss this week. We just experienced the first full weekend of Unrivaled, and we're going to hear your reactions to our Bicker of the week. Yeah, Team Sue this week. And I might even share one of my recipes.
Before we get into the news, you're going to want to make sure that you are watching and subscribed on YouTube for the first thing we want to discuss, a seismic event happening in the Midwest.
Massive.
Over the weekend. Caitlin Clark, a known Swiftie, joined Taylor herself, a known Clarkie.
Clarkie.
Yeah, you heard it here first. We're trying it out. We're workshopping
Who's trying it out?
I am. Joined her for Taylor's boyfriend's game of football. There was a playoff game happening in the NFL, and I'm imagining Taylor just being like, nobody knows this, but the NFL is paying me to do all the play calls for the Chiefs this year. So it's actually me talking to Patrick Mahomes. What do you think?
Oh, really? Oh, my God. That's crazy. I call plays, too. This one's called horns.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
This would be perfect. Oh, okay. This is so much fun. Oh, look at me. Nobody knows. Everyone's going to freak out. So that's what I think. That's a conspiracy theory that I think is, it kind of makes sense. She's at a lot of the games and they keep winning.
I imagine she knows a lot about football.
Yeah.
For real.
No, she actually probably does.
Yeah.
Yeah. She probably could call the plays. Yeah. I'm like,
Blue 42?
yeah.
It's a popular one.
Pass it to my mans. That's what I'm thinking. Do you think?
How's your hand? I know it hurt.
It didn't really. Okay. Do you think this is really the first sign that Taylor's going to be coming to the WNBA game, specifically probably a Fever game
Yes.
this upcoming season?
Yeah. Zero doubt. I totally, without a doubt, believe Taylor and Travis will be coming through to a Fever game.
Agreements were made at this game or
Yeah.
prior.
Yeah. I think there's a mutual respect. I think they're vibing.
Oh, for sure.
And we got to give a shout out to Tommy Alter, who was definitely in the background
This
of
is
that
from
video
the
somewhere.
background.
Because he's everywhere.
We saw you. I'm Megan Rapinoe. This is Sue Bird, and this is A Touch More. Let's get into it.
Support for A Touch More comes from L'Oreal Paris. A very cool thing we got to do on the show last year was getting to share the stories of L'Oreal Paris Women of Worth alumni. We heard from Star Davis, Ashley Rhodes Porter, Shannon McPeak, and Brianna Daniel. All incredible nonprofit leaders making huge differences in their communities. But what does the future hold? Stick around to hear more about how the change-making women in your very own community can also become L'Oreal Paris Women of Worth.
Checking in. Unrivaled basketball is officially started. We watched the games. The 3-on-3 league debuted last week in Miami. So we were so excited to watch. I know I personally was very excited to watch. Was it everything that you hoped for?
You know, it was. It was. There was a lot of hype. They've obviously done such a great job with the rollout, and it lived up to it. There was a star-studded event, a lot of investors. We saw Alex Morgan there with Servando. Steve Nash was interviewed on the sideline. You could feel the excitement just in the arena itself, especially on that first game, that first day. So that was really cool. Tons of talk on social media and even tons of talk in real life. We actually went up and watched my niece's, she had a play, Beauty and the Beast Jr., which was
My God, it
excellent.
was so cute.
It was excellent.
Insanely cute.
Yeah. So that was amazing. And then she had a basketball game later that afternoon. And at both events, I had people come to me and be like, oh, what'd you think of that new Unrivaled league?
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. So the chatter's happening and that's what you want. Last but not least, the pace of the games, again, especially on night one, was nuts.
Nuts.
You were even texting Alex during.
I texted
and what'd
Alex.
she say?
She was like, this shit is crazy. It's so fast.
It was, everyone was
obviously
super
the
hyped.
court is shorter, and it's only 3-on-3. You know, you sort of thought that the pace was going to be quick, but yeah, she was like, oh my God, this is wild.
Well, the thing about
sitting
3-on-3 is it lends so much to offense. Like so much.
I'm enjoying that.
When you are on your 5-on-5 team, when you're on your regular team, a lot of times you do defensive drills that are 3-on-3. Why? Because it's so hard to stop 3 offensive players.
Okay.
So that's what's great about Unrivaled. You flip that and it's going to be like offensive heaven. Low key, I'm wondering if when these players do go back to the WNBA, they're going to be like, 94 feet?
Oh my
this
God.
is so long.
No way. They're going to be like in the best shapes of their lives.
Well, that's for sure.
Favorite part of it so far? Favorite part of Unrivaled after watching, 4 or 5 games?
I know you agree. Like, without hesitation, the ending. Without hesitation, the fourth quarter, the target score, aka the Elam ending.
It's so
that
good.
is, every single game, with the exception of a few. With the exception of a few that were kind of sort of on the blowout side of things, there was a relative, like a buzzer beater.
Mm-hmm. I was basically Friday years old watching the first game when I realized that was going to be the ending.
How it ended?
How it ended.
We didn't do a good job of covering that last week. Apologies, folks.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was so much fun to
We've
watch.
talked about this with the NBA All-Star game. Why did they ever go away from it?
Yeah, I don't know.
That is still, I don't understand.
I got
because
cropped
we're
out
starting
of one
to
of the best
see-
photos ever.
Yeah, we discussed that. Still
Of
in mourning
LeBron
on that.
I'm still
wow,
mourning.
5 years later, she's still mourning.
Yeah, I haven't let it go.
I'll have to post that one. But
yeah.
so the game winners are amazing. And let's be honest, Skylar had the best one.
Oh,
I mean, it's the first one. It's the best one. Her reaction to it is next level. I'm
so great.
pretty sure in her post-game interview, she said something about like, we're the owls, acting like an owl, hooty hoo. So I feel like there was she was either like a zombie or an owl.
Yeah.
That's how I interpreted her celebration. But it was legit. It was legit. And Candace Parker said, man, you can't go under screens. When the target score is 3 points away.
What?
You can't go under.
That was
not on Skylar.
Like
So
you
that
said,
was really fun.
it's all about offense.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
is.
It really is.
Last week you talked about the mist and the laces, and you said you're gonna, instead of doing all the teams every single weekend, you kind of just want to focus on 2 of them. So who are we talking about this week?
So this week we're gonna do the Owls and the Vinyl. They're both 2-0. The Owls have Nafisa Collier, Skylar Diggins-Smith, we've already mentioned. They've got Shakira Austin, Alicia Gray, and Courtney Williams. They also have Cameron Brink, but she's like a injured reserve type player right now. So she's not playing this year. They did allow her to be a part of some things early on, but she's just not back fully from her ACL. Which honestly, watching them play, they're definitely, Fee is leading them. She had 27 in game 1, 31 in game 2. Feels like she's picking up right where she left off and from the WNBA finals, which is impressive.
Scary.
She's really entering her prime. But everybody else, I mean, they're really complementary of one another. I do wonder how having only 5 players since Cam's out impacts them long term, just in terms of games and conditioning and fatigue. But so far, so good for them. They're playing really well. They have a lot of just good chemistry. Same can be said for the Vinyl. This is Ryan Howard, Arike Gumawale, Dearica Hamby, Ray Burrell, Jordan Canada, and Aaliyah Boston. I would describe them, and Roz Goldenwende, who interviewed, I believe it was Arike last night. We're obviously recording this on Tuesday, so Monday's games were last night. She kind of brought this up, like, Arike, are we seeing a little bit of a big 3 for him? And that's how it feels between her, Ryan, and Hamby. They've got a good little mix going. And then you add Ray, you add Jordan, who I knew would be able to create a lot of chaos out there. And props to Aaliyah Boston. I watched her play one night. I turned on the USC Indiana game the next day, and she was doing the studio work for NBC.
Yeah.
So, I mean, get you a girl who does both. That's what the kids say.
Yeah, she's
and you got one
working.
here. But she's like low key, like had a double-double. She's low key just
doing
doing
her
what,
thing.
getting in where she fits in. So they have, they're all complimenting each other.
Okay. Who else are you impressed with? We talked last week, like, what's going to be the type of player that's going to do well? We don't really know. We're going to have to kind of see it play out. Who are you impressed with so far?
Chelsea Gray. Her team hasn't gotten the wins just yet, but Chelsea Gray, I think what is impressing me is that she's herself. It seems like she's just herself again. Whereas last year, she was obviously dealing with coming back from a pretty significant injury.
Yeah.
So it was taking her time throughout the course of the season to get back to full form. And now I'm like, oh, that's her. This is to be expected. 21-6 the first game, 14-6 the next game. Had a nice little over the head pass. And here's a player that, because she can score and because she knows how to facilitate in 3-on-3, that's dangerous. That's a dangerous combo because you have to guard her, but she's going to find people if you make a mistake. And then the other player is Kayla McBride. I mean, she's fun to watch in this.
Yeah.
She might be like one of the most fun to watch in this. You kind of had like a little bit of a reaction to her, like a positive reaction to her watching her play.
Well, both of these players, like what I'm enjoying seeing and watching, Kelsey's just so much fun to watch because she's always, every single time, looking for the most exciting thing, most exciting pass, whether it's a no look or she's whipping it around. So I feel like as a viewer, you're just like, something awesome could happen at any time when the ball is in Chelsea's hands. So I'm just really enjoying that. The ball doesn't stay in Kayla's hands for long, and I'm loving that. I think that there should be.
I think she has the quickest release in the WNBA.
Oh my gosh. It's awesome.
I'd have to think about it, but right now I feel confident saying that.
Yeah, it's like so exciting to watch. There's obviously so much space. The game is totally set up for scoring.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that there should be a feature, a heating up feature. Is this part of like NBA Jam or something? It's like if you're on
Boom shakalaka
something,
she's
if
on
you
fire?
make like 3 shots in a row, your fourth one should be worth just like 1 extra point or something.
Yeah.
And then it like resets. But that made me think of her. But I just I think this is what I was wanting out of this in relation to the WNBA's. Like, what's going to be the fun, exciting element that, like, no, when Kayla goes back and plays with the Lynx, like, you got to play within the system. You want them to play within the system. It's just a different style. Like, you got to be more serious, for lack of a better, like, more in what the game is asking. But this is just, like, fun. And every time she gets it, she's going to, like, throw it up. And I think especially in the fourth quarter when you're like chasing those points, like it doesn't, I mean, you do want to get stops, but like you want to score yourself, obviously.
That's the game within the game.
I know. So it's kind of like you need to get the shots up and somebody needs to shoot too. And like there's so much space out there. So yeah, I'm really enjoying both of those players. But yeah, we watched, again, recording on Tuesday, we watched the Laces play last night, which was Monday. And it was just like, really entertaining.
Yeah.
And so she makes most of the stuff she throws up. And I'm like, let's go.
Megan, I know you had some other just observations or things you might want to see more of, just like in terms of the vibes, like the vibe that you were feeling while watching.
Well, what I was thinking of was more of like a mega cast vibe or like how streamers do it where they're just like,
so it's like just for the viewer.
Just for the viewer. Because the whole thing is about the viewer, right? It's obviously not about I think there's 800 seats or something in there. And honestly, those people seem like they're having a blast. And there's music playing and it's fun. But wouldn't it be cool if there was like, I don't know, like how the video gamers, I don't know this at all. So if I say something stupid, it's because I've never been on Twitch or watch anything. But like that sort of, or even like a mega cast kind of vibe. I'm thinking pop-up video. Random,
I love pop-up video.
Random stuff pops into the screen. Maybe it's like a bar on the side where fans can like tweet in or they can like write into some sort of like interactive feature that still keeps the integrity of the game for the players.
I like the pop-up because it goes away.
Yeah,
and
but then for the viewer,
normal.
you're like, I don't know, maybe like there's some element in graphics like where the floor heats up when a player takes a shot or like just some like more interactive features I think could be really cool. Maybe not this year, but
that does exist. There is a floor. FIBA has used it for its junior tournaments. It's basically like a glass floor.
Oh, like an LED floor?
Yeah. It's not, but you can still play on it. It's like a safe surface.
Yeah. So I think that would be kind of cool.
Give that a search.
Yeah, for the viewer to have just some other embedded elements that, because I think a little bit of what I was feeling was like, this is, the production of it is the same as a normal 5v5 game or the same like as a W game because there's obviously like commentators. So maybe it's bringing more people into the booth or having it be more casual. Or just sort of like bringing some fun elements. But overall, it seems like the players are really enjoying the atmosphere and playing, just watching it on TV. There are some fans, and it's a small environment. Skylar said it after the first game. It's like a high school game or like, like a section championship or something like that, which kind of brings a nostalgia that's nice. Seems like it's fun. I'm enjoying watching it at home.
The only notes I have, and this is very specific to me having to prepare for pods like today where I kind of like, oh, what did so-and-so have? How many rebounds did this player have? Right now, they don't have, you can't go to a player and just look at their stats. Unless I'm missing it on the website, which is 1,000% possible. I'm not like sleuthing in there, but I didn't see it. I tried to click on players and it just gives kind of like a bio. So that's my note. But that's just because I'm trying to prep for this stuff.
Yeah, no, totally. We're watching it from very
different.
Yeah, different. I'm
different
like,
lenses.
could I play? Would you be good in this? How would you be good? What would you be doing? I know you're always like looking to kind of like suss out the strategy of it. And then I know you have like, a larger eye to the W, but what are you seeing so far that you like?
Like strategy-wise?
Yeah, what are you seeing in the strategy?
Well, I can already tell what I'd be doing offensively. I mean, defensively, I know it would be hard.
Trying real hard.
Yeah, I'd be trying really hard personally. No, defensively, I think it was Dejanay Carrington on night one got interviewed, and she's like, yeah, you're out on an island, right? Because you really are. There's no help. Defense, you have to work hard. But like, whatever, I'll get to that part later. Okay. I'll worry about the defense later. What I'm seeing offensively is shot selection is so important. I think I already knew this, but 3-point shooting and rebounding, you can really make a difference in the rebounding because this is a game of offense. Let's be honest. And this is a game of possession. How do you get more possessions? Offensive rebounding. So for players that are good at that and are elite at that, they're going to become super valuable as teams. Listen, what I'm seeing for sure is teams are still figuring this out. Like, who are they? How do they want to attack? At times, I think the pace has been a little too fast. That's kind of speaking to the shot selection of it all. When I think about the fourth quarters and the target score, I actually, while there are times to put your foot on the gas, I saw moments where teams probably should have slowed it down. Maybe they had the lead. Let's get a better shot.
Taking care of each possession.
Yeah, turnovers become even bigger in those fourth quarter moments because, again, the possession of it all. I think two-way players, the players that can play both sides of the ball, now back to defense. I thought where Skylar really had an impact in that first game was she started picking up full court. Now that leads us into conditioning, which I already said I knew was going to be a thing. These players are going to be in phenomenal shape.
Yeah.
I can't even.
The
phenomenal
coaches of the
shape.
WNBA are just like thanking their lucky stars. All these players are coming in like fully fit,
great shape.
Played
it's
in.
Probably hell now, but they're going to be in great shape.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But yeah, so whether players pick up full court, throughout the course, but I thought she really made a difference by doing that. Again, for me, I think offensively, I would be exploiting mismatches more. I would be setting pick and rolls to get the mismatch I want, setting screens to get the mismatch I want, and then exploiting. And then I would just be running a ton of pick and rolls that have, you can basically clear the help out in a way where nobody can be there to help. And the one thing that, as I said earlier, when you're working on things with your WNBA team, a lot of times you go 3-on-3 to guard pick and rolls because it's the hardest to do. So offensively, I would just be looking to do that as much as possible. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see what coaches can impact their team from like a strategy standpoint, because that also, I think, will play a big role. And that is what I saw. Very quickly, as we mentioned, we did watch Monday night's games. I think what you saw there is, as I said earlier, the vinyl is showing they have a little bit of a big three, and the Phantom is showing that they're still finding their identity. And then, listen, I've been waiting for this moment. The laces. I mean, the laces.
Did you say it?
It was my way too early fave.
Did you say it?
They're still saying as my way too early fave. No,
they're
I'm not
really good.
They're really good.
They're really good.
And
they just feel like they know what they're trying to do.
Jackie Young hasn't even played yet.
I mean,
which hopefully she's okay. I don't love that, but hopefully she's okay. No, listen, this is a 6-team league. So much is going to change as it goes. But right now, the Laces have found themselves first. That's how when I watch them play, they have found themselves first. They're 2-0. Jackie hasn't even played. Honestly, I knew AT was going to be a problem in this. It's the versatility and the playmaking.
Yeah.
But Kate Martin's kind of doing her thing too.
Love to see it.
She's like, this is a great team, a great role for Kate Martin. And then of course Tiffany Hayes. I mean, Caitlin McBride. It's just they're playing really well.
Yeah.
And the Mist is similar to the Phantom, still figuring themselves out. Jewel and Stewie need to have big nights on the same night. And then I think we'll start to see them going a little bit. But that takes us to Friday's games. This comes out on Thursday. So tomorrow's games, Megan, Phantom versus the Mist. One of them is going to get their first win. Who you got?
I have the Mist.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have a reason?
Yeah, I have a couple of reasons which I think are true.
Yeah, no, I love it.
So we're going to need to suss that out. But I don't feel like the Mists have really shot that well. I heard last night Stewie hadn't even made a 3 yet. I feel like at some point that's going to change. Sloot as well maybe is not shooting as well as she normally does. I just think they're so talented. They're going to put it together. Those players are not going to want to lose again. I mean, nobody wants to lose again, but that's who I'm going with.
Okay. And last
Who are
but
you
not
going
least, no, this is about you.
Oh, okay.
Laces versus vinyl. I would call this currently the battle of the most versatile backcourts. Who you got?
I'm thinking Laces.
Okay.
They're really hurting you
girl.
everywhere.
Yeah, they're tough.
Yeah, they're really hurting you everywhere.
They're tough. But vinyl's right there. It's not, the gap's not that big.
No, I agree.
It's not that big.
I agree.
All right, moving along in our check-in, the NCAA has announced it will now pay Division I women's basketball teams who play in March Madness starting this year. I think the money actually hits next year. Very quickly, with a Final Four appearance, a team could bring its conference $1.26 million over the next 3 years. The men's tournament has been doing a similar pay structure for decades. It's actually, the structure itself is not that complicated, but I do think it's worth just kind of breaking it down a little bit. So very loosely, what happens or what has happened on the men's side, the NCAA and the powers that be create these units and create value for these units. And each team that gets to the NCAA tournament gets units. And the further you go, the more units you get. And then again, those units have value, then that pot of money, let's say. And so let's say there's 5 teams from one conference. They go to, they have various runs. All that money goes to that one conference. Then that conference gives it out to their men's basketball teams. And that money has never gone to the women's basketball teams, just the men's. But that's basically the gist. And I think the best example is not the Power 5 conferences. It's actually those smaller schools that have these crazy runs. Like I'm thinking St. Peter's, Murray State when John Morant was there, won a couple of rounds. St. Peter's probably one of the better ones. So now you're getting all these units, all this money. You're taking it back to your small conference, and that money makes a difference for these conferences. They can reinvest in their facilities. They can pump up different areas with that money. So it's really important. And really the word that comes to mind is reinvestment. And women's basketball, even though it's been doing pretty well in terms of viewership, obviously last year it blew it out the water. But historically, very well in attendance, done very well in viewership, never got to participate in that and have that ability to reinvest from the conferences down to the teams. So I know you have a lot of thoughts on this, Megan. What you thinking over there?
Well, I feel like this is just yet another, I can't believe this wasn't already happening. And just another example of the ways in which women's sports, and in this instance, obviously, women's basketball in particular, have actively been held back. I just always want us to recognize, especially with the growth and what's happening now and how much money is coming in and how you're seeing the investment lead to things being better. You're seeing new practice facilities built. You're seeing expansion. You're seeing something like Unrivaled. You're going to see a whole different CBA with bigger salaries come. All of that is happening because the investment is coming and because it's being treated like a real business and not being suppressed and had the reins pulled back for so long. So I think part of this, and even to your point about the men's team, it's so important, yes, so they can reinvest, but because it's fair and because they've earned it. If you go far, you're part of the entertainment package. That is part of the media deal. That's why people are watching the game. So you should be able to participate in the business upside of the entertainment package, which is the tournament. I mean, obviously, the women not even being able to use March Madness until a couple of years ago speaks to just how much this business was suppressed. But I always just, and I just I know the answer and I just can't help say it, but it's just I always keep going back to the NCAA has stopped themselves from making millions of dollars more for all of these years also. Like, yes, I'm more upset about the women's, teams and conferences and what that would have done for investment and facilities over, the course of, 10, 20 years. But I'm just like, in the name of what? Is it just like negligence? Is it, active sexism? Probably somewhere in the middle or a combination of all of that. But I'm happy that it's here now. I'm happy that this is happening. I think obviously the new TV deal, which still I think is just like wildly under for the women's tournament, which I think was $65 million. It's like, how's the TV deal $65 million and 18 million people watched the game last year, watched the final game?
Well, to me, that's where the
it's
story
not
is.
that simple, but I think I'll just end on a positive note. I think what's so exciting about this time is that this business has been like primed and ready to be treated like a real business and to be invested in and to have all of the levers pulled at its ability. And this is yet another lever that can be pulled that will ultimately grow the business of women's basketball. And that means more money, better facilities, better everything for all of these student athletes who are playing.
I think part of it does live in the TV deal itself. Obviously, the men's tournament has a bananas TV deal with CBS. It's like in the billions, right? I forget how many years and how many billions, but a lot of years and a lot of billions. And so to your point, they do deserve that money.
Absolutely.
The men's teams deserve it. The conferences then deserve to give it to the men's teams. What I would say is, because I know there's somebody out there who's going to listen to this. I'm like getting ahead of it. I know there's somebody out there that's going to be like, well, the women didn't have the $1 billion deal, so why would they get any of that money? And really the argument to that is, well, why haven't they had this $65 million deal in the last 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20 plus years? Because as I said, the viewership and the attendance has always been there. And I would say where the bag really got fumbled was in the negotiation of the TV deal. And for those that don't know, it comes down to one word, and it's a word that I think all of us in women's sports have had to face at one point or another, and that is a bundle. They love to bundle us. So the women's college basketball tournament was sold with all, I forget, 7, 8, 9, 10 other NCAA championships, baseball, softball, you name it. And it got bundled, so it never knew its actual worth. And that has been the issue. So now we do have this TV deal. Now we are going to see a reinvestment in terms of these units and the money trickling back to conferences who will then give it to their women's basketball programs. So it's all on the up and up, which is great. So just one last time to point out why it took this long, but also to your point, let's end on a happy note. We're all very excited that it is happening and looking forward to seeing women's basketball in college grow even more.
Absolutely. Support for A Touch More comes from L'Oréal Paris. For L'Oréal Paris, the slogan, "Because I'm worth it," was never meant to apply just to outward appearance. It's always been about being confident in who you are, what you do, and how you impact others. That's why each year, for the last 19 years, L'Oréal Paris has launched a nationwide search for 10 extraordinary nonprofit leaders to be named Women of Worth. Each honoree receives $25,000 to support their charitable cause, mentorship from the L'Oréal Paris Network, and a national platform to amplify their stories and their work, and to remind powerful women that they can be the ones to define their own worth. And you can be a part of that reminder. Nominations are now open, and Women of Worth honorees are nominated by people in their own communities who have felt the impact of their work. You can nominate a local leader, your neighbor, your friend, or even yourself. Even if you don't feel worthy of a nomination, I can promise you that you are. Nominations for the 2025 Women of Worth program are open now through March 8th, 2025, International Women's Day, on l'orealparis.com.
Okay, moving on to the intersection. So before we get into this next topic, we wanted to give you all some context about how we're thinking of our approach to our coverage of certain controversial topics, particularly in politics, especially as, we have a new president taking office and things feel like they're changing a little bit. And I think at times there's been this tendency to get really reactive to certain headlines. And I'm definitely trying not to do that. I'm definitely trying to be super intentional and, I hate to use this term because I feel like it's got such a negative connotation to it, but do my own research. A great example of this, a lot of times it's easy to get reactive at headlines. It's easy to have like a knee jerk, but you kind of have to see what's really happening and then reroute a little bit and see, again, like I said, like what's really happening. What is this conversation really about? So that's what we're going to try to do. I mean, I guess this is a little bit of a New Year's intention, resolution,
Okay.
if you will.
In real life.
Yeah.
I love this. Thanks for setting that up. The House has approved legislation that aims to bar transgender women and girls from participating in school athletic programs designated for female students. The bill would prohibit federal funding from going to K through 12 schools that include transgender girls on their women's sports teams. It faces a very steep challenge in the Senate, though, because they would need 7 Democrats to join this, and that is going to be difficult, I think. So I think the main question out of this that I have is like, how prevalent is the issue of trans athletes? Let's listen to Senator Dick Durbin here question the president of the NCAA, Charlie Bicker, at a hearing last month.
How many athletes are there in the United States in NCAA schools?
510,000.
How many transgender athletes are you aware of?
Less than 10.
Less than 10
Yep.
out of 510,000?
Yep.
Okay, so a congressional bill for less than, potentially 10 people, 10 kids. So why is this getting congressional attention?
Well, first of all, one little nuance to that. Obviously, they're talking about college sports. Charlie Baker says less than 10 transgender athletes. That doesn't even denote how many are trans women versus trans men. So, and let's just be honest, this is I would say generally speaking, this is a trans woman situation. This is the whole protecting women and girls in sports. This is about trans women, not so much trans men. So you don't even know. It could be 1. I mean, yeah, it could be 10. It could be 1.
Yeah.
Like we don't even know the actual amount of trans women. And to answer your question, this is really just, this whole thing has really just been this effort to, for politicians mostly, but for people to scare people, for people to tap into the unknown, what people don't know, to try to get public support in order, and they're using this guise of protecting women and girls in sports. They're using that to do so. And the way I see it, it's like, I also want to protect women and girls in sports. I think both of us could sit here and talk about all the things we've seen in our time. Some of the really bad and really negative things we've seen.
Yeah. And experienced. Yeah.
Yeah, and experience. And I'm just focused on the things that are actual threats. And that's what kind of brings me back to this 10 out of 510,000. And I understand the congressional bills for kids, and we're looking at elite athletes in a sense because they're college, but still. There's how many times have you, I don't know if this happens to you, I've opened up social media and there's these polls where it shows like how many Muslims are in the US, how many trans, and people think it's like 20 to 25%. It literally goes down like a lot of the minorities, right? It's like, how many do you think of it? And when it gets to trans, people are like, 15, 20%. And it's like 0.0001. And that's the thing, like, what are we really talking about? So back to the whole idea of protecting women and girls in sports, like I said, I'm all for that. I just want to focus on the things that are actually the threat. And Charlie Baker in the same congressional hearing talks about just that.
I assume the NCAA is also concerned with other issues in women's sports.
The harassment that I speak of is far more prevalent in major women's championships than it is in men's championships. And in fact, the data that we put forward from our major championships last year showed that the worst examples of online threats, abuse, and harassment were being directed at women basketball players playing in our women's basketball tournament. That, in many respects, I think, is not as well known as it should be. We tried to do a pretty good job to promote it and make clear to people that that was, in fact, the championship that had the most brutal and the most troubling and the nastiest collection. And all we know of is what shows up on their public handle.
Yeah, what stuck out to me there, outside of the obvious, was not as well known as it should be. Because when you think about trans athletes, whether it's K through 12, college, Olympics, WNBA, NWSL, so on and so forth, the way that commercials were run during the campaigns, the way that it's talked about, you know, when certain politicians are on podiums, you would think it's a larger issue. And yet, the NCAA partnered with a group called Signify to investigate online harassment. This is like summer, fall of 2024. And, you know, it monitored, I'm just going to read this, it monitored public comments targeting the online profiles of student athletes, coaches, and officials in 7 NCAA championships, as well as the college football national championship. Some quick stats that they found: 18% of all abuse was sexual. 12% of all abuse was related to sports betting, and that actually increased for men's basketball and college football as like they got further in. 10% of abuse consisted of racist content. 9% of abuse was homophobic, transphobic. 6% of abuse was violent, approximately 380 instances, I believe, out of like 70,000+ or something like that. But the quote, far more prevalent that Charlie Baker is referring to is that 80% of the abuse in the study was directed at March Madness basketball student athletes, men and women. Women's basketball student athletes received approximately 3 times more threats than the men. And so for me, that's where I'm like, well, where's the protection on that? And that's where, you know, I just feel you can sense that it's getting co-opted and used, hijacked even. And by the way, that doesn't even talk about Angel Reese's AI images. The fact that both Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers just had stalkers arrested.
In real life.
Arrested
in real life.
In the last couple months.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you know better than anybody what's happened in the NWSL with the sexual abuse findings detailed in the Yates report. So that's what I think when I think of like the idea of what's really happening, right? When we say reroute, that's what I'm talking about. Like, what's really happening in the world? Like, what's really impacting women and girls in sports? And, you know, when certain things are highlighted and you start to look into it and you're like, wait, that's not as prevalent as what's happening over here. That's just where the question marks start to arise for me. If you are interested in learning more about just the whole trans conversation, I actually think Pablo Torre has done a really good job. He's had 3 different podcasts, one about specific to trans players, one specific to policy, and then another specific to science. So I think there is a lot to be learned, because when you do start to do the deep dives, you realize how much you don't know. And it is good to be educated if it's going to be, I mean, literally changing political climates. But at the end of the day, to me, it comes back to everything we just talked about with the abuse that we see online. Like, that's where we can really protect women in sports. So yeah, I feel like a lot of the problem is people think they know, but the truth is there's like so much to learn.
Yeah, and it's just being talked about in this way. And really just, it's like fear-mongering. It's just like, you know, all of the instances that we hear about, it's like 1 or 2 kids or 1 kid, or, you know, there's less than 10 athletes, as Charlie Baker was saying, out of 510,000. And it's being, you know, propositioned to people, whether it's in, you know, political campaigns or just general hate speech, that, you know, they're taking over women's sports and we have to protect women from women's sports. I mean, I've always just thought that that was very laughable to hear those types of people say that they want to protect women's sports and that they care about women's sports so much when they've literally never been here. And then when actual hate is not even hiding in plain sight, actual hate just is out in plain sight. And I loved what Charlie Baker said, actually. That's just what we are seeing on the public profiles and in the public spaces in the comments.
Not the DMs.
I can speak from experience. You can too. What is in the DMs is fucking crazy. It is the worst of the worst. Everything that you could possibly think of. It's awful.
Yeah.
And again, to have that show up in real life. Caitlin Clark just had a stalker arrested in Indianapolis. Paige Becker's stalker was in Connecticut, close to the school somewhere. So this stuff like shows up in real lives, and to have known that and to have, you know, been able to see that in a public forum and nobody really do anything about it other than the security that's, you know, detailing Caitlin and detailing Paige, for there to be such a lack of conversation. It's just like, it blows the whole argument up. It's like, this conversation around trans athletes being able to participate and trans people being kids being able to participate in sport is not about the protection of girls at all. It's just fear mongering in order to whip people up. And it's really sad. And again, in most of the cases, it's like a couple of kids that we're talking about. And it's like entire state governments, entire school boards, the president just like coming down on these kids who just want to participate in sports. It's really sad. Yeah. So that's kind of our reroute on this of talking about the things that women in sports and girls in sports actually need protection from. And these statistics about the abuse of social media is a really good one, but that's our reroute for the day. And we'll obviously continue to talk about this in the future as it seems to be a hot button issue for everybody.
You all hear us talk on the show about the athletes that we admire, but sometimes it can go fast. So we wanted to stop and take a dedicated moment to talk about our Shouts and Flowers presented by L'Oreal Paris. And today we want to talk about two-time Olympic gold medalist Kelsey Plum. Over the weekend, Plum went back to where it all started and had her number 10, shout out number 10, raised into the rafters at the University of Washington. You could really rattle so many stats from Plum's college career, but the one that sticks out the most is that she finished her career with 3,527 points. That is currently second all time in the NCAA. It was number 1 until last year. And my favorite part of Plum's run to that record was that on the night she could break it, she dropped 57 points. So not only did she set the UW single scoring record, 57 is 57, let's be honest.
Yeah.
She did that to break the NCAA scoring record.
Yeah.
And, our very own Megan Rapinoe was in the building.
You guys, I was
there.
It like? It was crazy. It really was crazy. I don't know where you were. You must have been traveling or something.
I couldn't go.
I had gone with a couple of friends, not expecting this.
Friends?
Yeah, I have friends outside of you in Seattle, so they were your friends, but not expecting her to break the record, obviously, but in totally typical Kelsey fashion, which I came to know and love after watching her many times, this being one of them. It just was one of those once the game started going, it was like, oh, she's going for it. Like this just one of those beautiful, inevitable moments and feelings that you have where it was like she was on fire, obviously, and just had the biggest green light and just went for it and went for this record and just had everybody in the palm of her hand and incredible performance, obviously. Very special to drop a 50-piece and then to do it to break the record is just so cool. So yeah, I was in attendance. It was electric.
A big part of Plum's legacy is that she chose University of Washington. She could have gone to, programs that had a little bit more of a legacy in terms of success, but she wanted to build. And that's what's so cool about that night. Obviously, I've seen the highlights. I remember talking to you about it. She did. She had the city of Seattle. She had the UW crowd just literally in the palm of her hand. Plum used to come to Storm games when she was at UW. Adia Barnes was the assistant at the time, and she would just tag along with Adia. And you could see she had basketball junkie written all over her. She had goals, ambitions. You could just see it from the start. And that's something that I've really always admired about Plum, just the belief she has in herself. That's not easy. And it's not to say she hasn't had the ups and downs like everybody else, but it's really special when the belief in yourself kind of continues to show, right? Even when it gets knocked down a little bit, it continues to show. Like I said, she went to UW, helped build that program. She handled the pressure of being a number 1 pick. She was the first pick in the draft. She's talked openly about mental health, and that all led to her becoming a 2-time Olympian, 3x3, and then the 5-on-5 team this past Olympics, and of course a 2-time WNBA champ. And if I'm being honest, that's a pretty good resume, Plum.
Pretty good.
Plum, that's not
pretty
bad.
good.
You did all right for yourself.
Is she even 30? Not even. Not even.
So congrats to Kelsey Plum on having her jersey retired, but also on already what is an amazing career. And again, we have a lot of admiration for you. So congrats.
Vox Creative.
This is advertiser content from L'Oreal Paris. Over the past few months, we've heard from several extraordinary Women of Worth honorees. And now we'll hear from the leader at the heart of this inspiring program.
My name is Allie Goldstein. I'm president of the L'Oreal Paris brand in the U.S.
For nearly 20 years, L'Oreal Paris Women of Worth has celebrated extraordinary women making a difference in their communities.
You go through your day and you're facing so many challenges that you sometimes forget all of the good that you do. That's really what Because I'm Worth It is about. It's about what this program is about.
Nominations for the 2025 cohort are officially open. If you know someone who's making a real impact, or if you yourself are leading the charge, we encourage you to submit a nomination today.
You can go and nominate either a woman you know, or you can even nominate yourself. And really what we're looking for are women who are addressing issues that others don't really want to talk about, issues facing other women, and women who are running organizations that are giving back to their communities.
Now's your chance to remind yourself and others that the good they do matters, that they matter, that they are worthy of this life-changing opportunity.
We are extremely proud that this program has been going on for 20 years, and it really speaks to the importance of it. I think especially now, recognizing women who are doing work in their local communities, it's more relevant now than ever before.
Each honoree receives $25,000 to support their charitable cause, mentorship from the L'Oreal Paris Network, and a national platform to amplify their stories and their work. Nominations are open now through March 8th, International Women's Day, on l'orealparis.com. Go do it!
All right, so last week we had a little bit of a bicker that we told you all about, and there's been a lot of responses to Megan's dislike of my use of measuring cups. I mean,
It was a lot.
what's going on? Catherine on Instagram wrote, "Now you're just making things up to bicker about." When I came in from the sauna, that was my favorite one, because you really did sound like, well, I came in from my sauna and you were like measuring things with measuring cups and you had all the dirty ones in the sink. Oh, how could you?
How could you? There was just like chocolate everywhere too. It
No,
was
there
just,
wasn't.
But
You're
like
rewriting
on the
history. This is so fascinating. This is interesting.
What do you mean?
There wasn't chocolate everywhere.
Yeah, there was.
No, there wasn't.
There was just chocolate because you made chocolate ice cream.
Yeah, in the ice cream.
Yeah, so that had chocolate in it. Some of the measuring cup. It was just like it was all in the sink, and there was too much in there, and it stressed me out. Bottom
Anyways, the other response we got was people want to know the recipe. And
Yeah.
so
You should want to know the
yeah,
recipe.
I am still tinkering with it, but this is like what it was meant to be. It's meant to be like 3/4 of a cup of sweet potato, which I've already lowered to like a half a cup.
Mm-hmm.
So I've already taken some of that out. A bag-ish of chocolate chips that you melt down.
Mhm.
I've already reduced that.
I helped reduce those too.
Yeah, well, you said it was like a mousse. It was really, it had like
so good.
Yeah, it had like a sweetness. It was too much. As you said, it had like a richness so I've already reduced that. That's the second ingredient. Then you do 1 can of light coconut milk, a little bit of coconut sugar. I think it calls for like a teaspoon or 2. I've already reduced that, and then a little bit of vanilla. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep reducing until it gets to like the perfect consistency combined with like a really good chocolate ice cream taste as opposed to being too rich. So I'll let you know what the final thing is, but that's the recipe, folks.
The one that you tinkered with, the new one, is really good.
Yeah, well, I also add some toppings. I mean, it's healthy, but
Yeah, healthy-ish.
you got to have something in
No,
there.
it's rich. She's been in the lab, y'all. She's
Yeah.
been in the lab, and I'm gonna just shut up about it because
Heard it here first, everybody.
yeah, I'm gonna shut up about it because I really did walk myself right into like, what are you even talking about? She's making you dinner and making you homemade ice cream that she's
And a
tinkering-
homemade Italian ice.
and a homemade Italian ice, which wasn't as good. We're
it wasn't.
focused on the chocolate ice cream.
You don't like Italian ices. You're tricky.
Yeah,
You and your
it's-
sweets is
it's-
like,
yeah, I don't
you're
like
so
it.
particular.
It's too like
I love
the
Italian
ice
ices.
is like nails on a chalkboard for me. It's
Oof.
just ugh.
Give me Ralph's, give me Italian ice, give me
No.
like old school pizza place where you go and you're like, can I,
I mean,
get
a
the rainbow?
snow cone though.
Ugh.
so
Snow
good.
cones are bleh.
So
They're
good.
okay.
They're so good.
Is that what you would get? Like if an ice cream truck pulled up, what would you get?
I don't even know. I mean,
Were you ever a child?
I mean, yeah, but like
We
in
went
a
to
more
go
rural
see-
area. So
We went to go see Beauty and the Beast.
We didn't have a lot
as
of
I
ice cream
mentioned,
trucks.
Beauty and the Beast Junior, a
So
play my
cute.
niece was in. And Megan, you don't know if you've seen Beauty and the Beast.
I mean, I have. I just don't remember anything about it. I know. It's not great.
What was the moral?
Well, I know now.
Okay. Yeah. What was your takeaway?
I mean, my takeaway is that don't be too vain, because then you know, nobody wants that. And then you're going to get to be a beast. And then the only thing that can save you is true love,
That is your takeaway?
basically. And I knew exactly where your niece was.
Was there any like don't judge a book by its cover?
Yeah, that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you like Gaston?
Because of the beast?
Who was your favorite? Now I'm going in the details here.
Oh, the candlesticks.
Yeah, Lemire was
Yeah. Candlesticks.
Tip-top.
So funny.
tip top.
Yeah. All the
my
kids
niece
did
didn't
such a great
actually.
job.
Yeah, my niece is in 4th grade. This is really a 5th grade play, so she was just like in the ensemble. Yeah, she had one little line though.
Loved her part.
It was so funny.
Loved her part.
Okay, I got all off track, but at the end of the day, you don't know. What I'm hearing is you don't know what your ice cream truck order would be. I'm
Yeah.
going firecracker.
I don't even know what that is.
Sometimes people call it. Where I grew up, it was called firecracker. The red, white, and blue pop.
Oh, no. I'm not doing a popsicle.
What? I'm going firecracker. I'm going Choco Taco. Have you ever had a Choco Taco?
Yeah, those are good.
I used to do the one with the bubblegum nose, but then that was actually like my OG fave. And then I got older. I was like, this is trash. This is the worst one. First of all, the bubblegum sucks. It's the worst.
Yeah. It's
Type of
too
bubble-
hard.
it's like
You're
a-
going to break a tooth.
Yeah. I mean, I could go on for days. But yeah, I was a firecracker girl.
I do like a
I
strawberry
do like a
shortcake.
drumstick. Okay, strawberry shortcake. Chocolate eclair.
No.
Same family. Okay.
No. The drumsticks are good.
The drumsticks are good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see how a report came out recently where like that ice cream doesn't melt or something like that?
Tough. Good on a hot day, though.
Okay. And now we're going to listen. I got all off track. Now we're going to listen to a voicemail, and they actually forgot to tell us their name, but let's give it a listen. This is back to our Bicker.
I have 2 takes. One is a tidbit for Megan of a well-timed, multifaceted meal is mutually exclusive with a clean kitchen. So the thing here is you can have the measuring cups and the bowls and everything on the plate at the same time at a good temperature, or you can have cold Faro and it can be clean. You have to choose. Secondly, my husband and I do this thing, particularly with our Bickers, where we rate them from 1 to 10. And I would really like for you guys to start doing this as well and tell us what they are. Okay. Bye, kids.
I mean, I have to be honest, and this is not going to be positive for me. But when I walked back in from the sauna and saw all that shit out on the kitchen counter, I was bugged. And then it was like, why? Why does this even bug me? So probably it got to a 6.5.
Oh, at least.
7. Okay. It got to a 7.
It was up there.
But now,
that's when I knew like something else is happening.
but now it's what's really going
What's
on
happening?
here? But now it's at a 2. I still don't want all that stuff on the counter. But it's a hands-off situation. I just have to get out of there.
Do you have like any, like ideas on what I should do if I'm measuring something with a measuring cup? And then what do I do when I'm still using it? Where should it go?
Honestly, I don't care where it goes. I think what you should do is tell me to get out. Put up a big hand, like absolutely not. Get out of here. I'm doing me.
I need a
That's
clip of
what-
this that I can just play
Yeah.
when this happens.
That is what should happen.
So we can just remember whose idea it was
Yeah.
for me to put my hand
I
up
know.
and say,
This
get out
is-
of here.
This is also a reoccurring dynamic.
Shut up, Jim.
Exactly. I'm relentless. And in the face of minimal or kind resistance, I am going to plow that right over. So I need to be told no. And I'm working on hearing the first calmer no. But in the meantime, just as a word of advice for you, I would get more aggressive. Okay? I'm going to try not to end up
Tough for me.
yelling at you, but yeah, this
More
is
aggressive.
This is good work for both of us.
Okay.
You have to work on being more assertive, and I have to work on actually hearing what you're saying and not steamrolling.
Okay.
What do you think?
I mean, I'm already in it, so
We're working on it.
yeah. 8 years in.
Yeah. Just a touch more, a little bit. Just a touch more.
Yeah.
Leading off a touch more today, Dawn Staley has received a contract extension through 2029-30 season. That will make her the highest paid coach in women's basketball. So
I think it's like 4 something a year, gets up to 5, make that money. My favorite part is that all of her players were like, "Can I borrow $1?" What a great response.
So cute.
But
Love it
yeah,
for her.
Shout
Love
out to
it for her.
Dawn. And I don't want to steal your thunder, but this sets a precedent now. So Dawn is now, going to get other people paid. And that's the best part.
absolutely. I mean, I feel like this is sort of part of Dawn's legacy is, just building an incredible program and obviously doing all the winning required to do this. And there's been, people that have done this before in other ways. But this just, like you said, sets another precedent. And so this is the floor now in so many ways for coaches to come, but also just like very much deserved by Dawn, who's built an incredible program down there in South Carolina. So I love to see it. Women getting paid. I love to see this so much. Attendance in women's sports is
Still booming.
booming. The Omaha Supernovas, Nebraska's professional volleyball team and first pro volleyball champions, reset the U.S. pro volleyball attendance record with 13,500 fans at their season opener. Incredible. Last Sunday's PWHL game between Minnesota and Montreal drew 14,000 plus fans to the arena. That is the highest attendance of any women's professional hockey game ever in the United States. Sadly, our game that we went to, that record was broken, if that was a record. But this is just like so cool to see so many people going out and supporting. Like the fan bases are there. They finally have teams to cheer for and games to go to. And it is vindicating.
It is
to
really
see.
cool. Pretty
And
soon
it
we
is-
won't even be covering these numbers.
Yeah.
There's going to be
It's really
what
cool.
it is.
But they're important sort of like watershed moments. And
Oh, absolutely.
we just want to make sure that we cover them now because eventually it'll be an everyday thing. So congrats to both those teams. That was awesome.
WNBA free agency has begun. We're going to leave you all with a touch more information on that. It's already been going. From January 11th to 20th, which is already passed, you could do things like qualifying offers, core designations. This is something we've talked a lot about on the pod, so we did want to give everybody just like a little bit of like, here's what you need to know in the next couple of weeks. Alyssa Thomas, Kelsey Mitchell, Gabby Williams, Brianna Stewart, Satu Sabally, Kelsey Plum. Those are the players that got cored.
Any surprises there for you?
No, none.
No. Okay.
So we'll see what that means. If that means they're going to sign, does that mean sign and trade? So TBD on that. Starting basically now for the next 10 days, teams can start talking to players, negotiating contracts. You're definitely going to be hearing a lot of rumors, a lot of news, all going to be coming out of Unrivaled. But maybe even some announcements of signings. So that's really exciting. And then February 1st is when players can actually sign. And if we go back to the rumor mill of it all, it did come out that BG is going to test the free agency market, which, thinking about it, it's not like some crazy shocker, but it's a little bit of surprise. She's been in Phoenix, had a lot of success there her whole career. But yeah, Unrivaled is probably just like one big pot of recruitment right now.
Oh, man.
Like, hey, you want to go grab some
we've
dinner?
been seeing the coaches.
Talk about my practice facilities?
Seeing the coaches show up. Obviously, all the players are there. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I feel like it can create a bunch of news that
Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing.
So that's what's up for WNBA free agency, and that is all for us today. See you next week. Thank you to L'Oreal Paris for supporting A Touch More. As women, it can be really hard to recognize the positive impact we make every day. We work so hard to bring even the tiniest bit of good to others' lives. The L'Oréal Paris Women of Worth program is a chance to celebrate the hard work of women nonprofit leaders who are changing the world for the better. Now's your chance to champion the changemakers in your communities. Nominations for the 2025 Women of Worth program are open now through March 8th, 2025, International Women's Day, on L'OrealParis.com.